sounds good for a family wagon. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammerdown Motorsports. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Steve Fast, and we are here in the 2017 Yukon Denali XL. So for those of you who've been with the channel for a while, you know we picked this thing up probably about 2 years ago now. It's actually probably about a month short of 2 years owning this vehicle. And we're just gonna go for a drive today and kind of talk about the ownership experience over the last 2 years with this vehicle, kind of the good and the bad, kind of let you guys know what it's like to own one of these. So as for mileage, we have 12,754 miles on this, and over 2 years, I mean, that's pretty low mileage. We basically we take the kids to school with this, we'll take this to the beach, and I drive my truck mostly, and my wife drives her Range Rover mostly if we're just, you know, the kids are in school and we have things to do. So this vehicle, it's just kind of mainly for the family, and so it hasn't collected a whole lot of mileage, and we haven't done too many really long trips with it. But all in all, it's been pretty good. I mean, the ride in this thing is absolutely amazing. The magnetic suspension, you go over the bumps and this thing is smooth. And especially with the XL, you get the long wheelbase. And I definitely would recommend getting the XL if you're gonna get into a Yukon, unless you've got like real constraints with parking or something like that. That little bit of extra really goes a long way as far as ride quality goes, and as far as the back doors actually are straight on the longer version, and if you get the shorter version, they kind of have the little cutout, and then you get that little sharp edge. And if you got little kids, that's kind of head height. And that was another thing with the Durango, is it had really sharp little door points on it, and I didn't want the kids running into that. So having this set up just for a family, it actually works out a whole lot nicer. And not to mention, you have all that extra room behind the back seat with the third row up, so you can have a full load of passengers and all your luggage, and you're definitely good to go. So I'd have to say my biggest complaint about this vehicle is that sound that comes from the HVAC. And I've been on a couple of forums, and this is something that has plagued a few of these vehicles. It's not just mine. I've taken it to the dealership probably about 3 different times for it. They replaced the blower motor. They played around with the AC system, trying to see if the compressor is maybe making noise. Some people say that it's just a vibration with the AC compressor that goes through the evaporator, and that kind of makes kind of a whirring sound. It's really weird, and it kind of goes with the engine RPM as you're driving slowly. It's actually not doing it right now, which is very surprising because it does it almost every time I drive it. And it's actually really annoying when you're driving slow and you hear this roar, and it's done it since day one. I mentioned this when I first got this vehicle, hoping that it would go away. They were saying it was a transmission or something like that. I'm like, why would the transmission be that loud in a vehicle like this? I don't know. It's kind of disappointing me a little bit with GM's quality, especially on a vehicle like this. Like if you go to a GMC dealership, this is the most expensive vehicle that a GMC dealership will sell, and the quality of it is kind of subpar in my opinion. But it's not all bad. The 6.2 liter engine in this truck is absolutely awesome. I haven't actually towed with this just because I do have other vehicles that I tow with, but I would have no issues whatsoever pulling my race trailer with this, going down the highway. This thing's got all the power you need. And we have done a couple of mods to this, and actually have one more that we're going to be doing very soon. We did a Cold Air Inductions cold air intake on this, so if you guys have one of these and you're interested in one of those, definitely go check them out. ColdAirInductions.com. I will have a link in the description, but it gives it a definite different note when you hit that throttle. Kind of opens the engine up, and it sounds absolutely awesome. And you start feeling more like you're in a Camaro or a Corvette rather than a big SUV, and it gives you that sound that you definitely want to hear. And not to mention, every time I see a tunnel, I'm rolling the windows down and doing this. I'm never gonna grow up. There's no way that's ever gonna happen. So now for my list of likes on the 2017 Yukon Denali XL. Over the last 2 years, the things that have never faded for me is the look of this truck. This thing looks awesome. I mean, every time I have this thing nicely cleaned up, it's got the black 22-inch wheels. It just has a really nice appearance to it. You just know it's Denali. It's got the signature grille, and I really, really like the way it looks. And going down the road, this thing is pretty awesome. You get looks pretty much everywhere you go, and really, I mean, there is a lot of these out there, but I still do feel special driving this one. And comparing it to the Ford side by side, looks wise, I just don't think that the Ford can hold a candle to the Yukon. I mean, honestly, I do have a soft spot for the Lincoln. The new Navigator, I think, is a pretty nice looking vehicle, but we're not comparing the Escalade to the Navigator. We're comparing the Denali to your Expedition, which is pretty much in the same price point when you get it into like a platinum trim. And I think that that one just really doesn't have the look that this Yukon does. But drop your comments in the comment section. What do you guys think of the 2020 Expedition parked next to the 2017 Yukon Denali? Tell me your opinion. Will you choose the Ford or the GMC? The second thing I would have to put on my like list is just the overall performance of this vehicle. It performs really, really well with that 6.2 liter V8. It handles corners really well with its amazing suspension, and it does it all really refined and quietly, which is something that I really, really enjoy on a daily basis driving this vehicle. So the third like on my list is just how easy everything is to use. I mean, driving this vehicle, it's pretty easy to figure everything out. There's nothing that's really kind of strange or different than what you would expect from a GM vehicle. Like, this stock has been in pretty much every vehicle since the 80s on the left side here. Some of the functions have changed, but the overall design of it is the same. You got your wipers and everything, I think, in the same place as what our 86 Suburban was back in the day. And over here where the cruise control used to be, this little switch is now the rear wiper. They moved the cruise over to the steering wheel. But other than that, I mean, it is fairly familiar. If you are a GM owner of many, many years, over many, many models, a lot of these things will transfer over to this vehicle. We do have our climate controls. Everything's on a knobs or buttons or anything like that. Everything's pretty simple to understand. The infotainment system is pretty simple and works fairly well. The voice command is another story. It doesn't really work all that well, but I've had the same problem with other vehicles. I think the best voice control all in all is the one from Chrysler. The ones in my Dodges have always really recognized your voice and what you actually wanted to do the best. The GM ones, even in my Camaro, definitely could use some work. The fourth thing I would have to say, and this is kind of a GM specific thing, is OnStar. I really like OnStar. That was one of the reasons that I leaned towards actually buying the Camaro and buying this, is because when the wife's driving, or even for me, if I just want an address and I don't want to go through the GPS and all that kind of thing while I'm driving, I just hit the OnStar button and say, give me directions to such and such a place, and I get a live person on the other end, and they'll just put it right to my vehicle. I hit go, and so simple, so easy, and anybody can do it. I could put somebody who has no technological experience or skill whatsoever in this vehicle, say push the little blue button up on the mirror and talk to a real person, and they will give you the GPS navigation that you need to get where you're going, no matter where you are. So my fifth like about the Yukon is the fact that it is as big as it is. I love the fact that we can actually fit everything we need to in here. If you want to go out and get a big screen TV or something like that, you can fold down all the rows. You can get that in here, 75-inch TV, no problem whatsoever. And you don't have to rent a truck or anything. I mean, this is kind of just your all-purpose vehicle. So now my list of dislikes, my first world problems for the 2 years of ownership. One being the wireless charger. It's actually not big enough for one of the bigger iPhones, and I always have the biggest iPhone you can get because it's a lot easier to see, and I don't know, I really like the big screen on them, but it doesn't fit in this properly enough that the charger will actually work. I've taken it out of the case, put it on the charger, and I think you have to have the smaller version of the phone for it to work, for it to sit flat enough to actually get that connection. So the wireless charger is pretty much useless to me. That's my first thing that I have to complain about. The second thing would be obviously just our normal design flaw things, like the moisture in the taillights, like the noisy HVAC, and the fact that we get a few creaks and rattles here and there that probably should have been avoided, but I mean, it is what it is. Those are just kind of things that you got to live with, but that's the second thing I have to complain about. And the third thing would be just overall value for what you paid for what you got. That kind of ties in with the second thing, that, you know, if you're paying that kind of money, you have a higher expectation of what you're getting. And I mean, I just don't really want to be a whiny complainer all the time, but the fact is, if you're putting out that kind of money, you should be getting a quality product that you would feel that you're getting $80,000 worth. And I don't think that they hit the mark 100% on that one in particular. The fourth thing would be the fact that the technology is just slightly dated. I mean, the screen, it just, I don't know, it doesn't really wow you. It's not like, oh wow, I've got the latest thing. You kind of feel like you have something from a few years ago. And I mean, honestly, I feel bad for the people buying these in 2020 because the stuff that's out in 2020, they really are needing an upgrade on these things. And I think 2021 is supposed to have a new model. I could be wrong. It could be the 2020. I'm not entirely sure. But 2021 for sure, they should have a revamp of the Yukon. And I hope they really step up their game and really change things up and make it more modern, because that's just one of my complaints. It is definitely a dated design, but all in all, it is one that still works rather well. And the fifth thing being the 8-speed transmission. If you're buying one of these, go for a 10-speed. You don't want to have that clunking at slow speeds. It kind of takes you by surprise and just kind of bangs into gear. It's just a flaw with this transmission, and I mean, really, honestly, most of the things that I'm complaining about are things that are design flaws with this, which I'm sure they're going to fix on the next model. So there it is, everybody. 2 years of ownership, almost 13,000 miles with the 2017 Yukon Denali XL. And those are the good, the bad. There's a few things that I noticed, and all in all, this has been a great vehicle, and I absolutely do love it. Don't ever get me wrong when I do have a few complaints to say, but if I didn't have anything to complain about, that would be a pretty short video. And honestly, people are going to go out there and drive these, and they're going to find some of the similar things that I found. So just basically cutting to the chase for you guys. If you're out there looking at this vehicle, these are probably the first things you're going to look for. And if it's something that you can live with, then it's not going to be a big deal. But if it's something that's going to be a problem for you, it may be a thing that would change your mind about buying one of these. But all in all, it is a great vehicle. It definitely serves its function, and I absolutely enjoy driving this vehicle on a daily basis. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and as always, keep that hammer down.